Can you imagine? While Prelate Helrune was chasing witches throughout the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the queen. At first, she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then she offered it to come into me and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. Oh, dude, wow. I passed. There was a religion check and I passed it? Wow. I can't imagine the followers of Zon Kuthan in alliance with demon worshippers. Shouldn't they aid each other? They should, but Baphomet's minions are masters of deception. They manipulated Zon Kuthan's butchers as eagerly as Ayamede's knights. The cultists from that unholy temple didn't know the true face of their associates in Canabris. We ourselves learned the truth much later, after getting to the bottom of their nests. How did the people of Canabris feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There were already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their superstitions, Mendev is as merciless as Last Wall. They just have different sets of victims. I kept seeing those same sideways look and scowls, hearing this familiar whispers, but where once they used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wipe the spit from your face and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now that I'm talking about tieflings. It's true that there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders, and our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them Aurelius spawns, or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the call of one's blood and join the forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Canabris. That's crazy! Tell me about Anivia. We met in Timon as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another. We returned to Canabris together to expose the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anivia isn't just my beloved, she's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then. The day Canabris fell before our return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We are in your debt. Well, I mean, thank you. Tell me about the Eagle's Watch. It was a small order created to fight not only demons, but also the enemy within, to maintain the purity of the paladin ranks, prevent heresy, and identify spies, and it failed miserably at that. The Templar of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its rank. After the Queen entrusted me with leading the order, Anivia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of dead weight, people who weren't committed. We organized ways to transmit messages and orders safely. We introduced reliable ciphers. We found tacit allies around the city, from Crusader orders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade to purge the city of the Templars who had infested it, and I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We were so close to driving the cultists out of Canabris, but Irabeth frowns. It's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demon entered the city. I mean, on the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters at the Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. The line on Irabeth's forehead softened. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. Yeah. Nice. It's cool to like talk to her and get to know her better a little bit too. Anivia in her muted colors blend almost perfectly into the background. She appears relaxed, but her seemingly unfocused eye are taking in everything around her, tracking and filtering potential threats. The only tell is the way she drums her fingers on her hip near the weapon sheath. She shows no signs of her injuries and confidently leans on her previously broken leg. She pretends to have just noticed you, and even though she watched you approach from afar. Oh, hey. So, see how they patched me up. Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it. Okay. Are there any suspicious places in the city that I should pay attention to? There were a couple spots I wanted to check out, but I didn't have time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there and bust some heads. You don't need a search warrant. And if you shoots you a crooked smile. The first one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric, but they've always seemed oh so busy. They're busy with something in there, alright, but sewing, it ain't. Second one is, sewing. Second one is the Alchemy Shop, Topaz Solutions, and they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying in the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going on in that place. Cool. So we have like 2 new like side missions. Tell me about yourself. Is that gonna take forever again? Yeah, I'm gonna talk to her at least, because who knows, like if like this place burns down, I won't be able to talk to her maybe again. Like if she dies, or if like her wife dies or something. Like my companion's on the end of the world. I can talk to Sela later. The girl shrugs with a lazy smile. I'd be happy to, but there's a kind of nothing to tell. What's so interesting about me? Where are you from? Nowhere. I was blown in by the wind and found in the cabbage patch. The girl stops short. Sorry, that's an old habit of mine. I don't like blabbing about my past, but you saved my skin, so I guess I kind of owe it to you not to clown around, right? I'm from Nidal, one of the oldest surviving countries in Avistan, having been founded during the uncounted years of the Age of Darkness, even though it is now beholden to the neighboring infernal realm of Chiliax. What? It retains significant autonomy to pursue its own shadowy goals. Jesus. And I wouldn't wish my homeland on my worst enemy. You've heard of the place, I'm sure. Ruled by monsters that aren't alive nor dead, and the official religion is the cult of Zon Kuthan. I grew up in a slum, like a weed between the cobblestone. I didn't have a dad, but I had lots of aunts and uncles. My mom's cronies. No prize for guessing the kind of business she was involved in. They gave me a set of lockpicks as soon as I could hold a spoon, and while other kids were picking their nose, I was picking pockets. When I was 12, the monks of the Silent Shroud came for us. Creepy guys with their mouths sewn shut. They're the guards in this rock. Mom gave me to her friends, and we hid in the secret temple of Desna. I never saw my mom again. Desna, known as the Great Dreamer, Lady Luck, and Mother Moon, goddess of dreams, luck, stars, and travelers, is among the most ancient of deities. While her peers burdened themselves with the task of creating Galarian, she spent her time building the heavens. She knew that there would be plenty of time for her and her followers to explore the many wonders of the world later. She has changed little since those earlier days, and she and her followers delight in exploring the world. Okay. I lay low in the temple for the next few years, kept my head down. I washed floors, fetched water, listened to sermons. Funny thing, after a while I started liking Desna's teaching, but as soon as I was old enough, I was out of there. I left Nidal and got as far as I could. Quite a ragtag group you've got here, from nobles to street thieves. You got that right. And only the best for you. What do you do if the knights and noble fail to save the world? The lowlives are our only hope. How did you meet Erebeth? I was bumming around Timon a while back, doing this and that. Desna Temple sometimes gave me odd jobs. You know, sometimes they needed people with skills like mine. On the surface, it was fine, I guess. After I need all the freedom of River Kingdoms, should have seemed like heaven. My chance to sit back and enjoy life. But I wasn't happy. There just wasn't any joy in my new life. I was all alone, no one cared about me, and I didn't care about anybody either. I struggled to find a reason to drag myself out of bed every morning. Tying a stone around my neck and jumping into the nearest river started to look pretty appealing. Jesus. One day I was hired to follow some fellas who the local authorities suspected were Rasmussen spies. I was stupid. I made a rookie mistake and he caught me. It's like my body had already decided to do what my mind had been fighting, to finally put me out of my misery. Get someone else to kill me, since I didn't have the guts to do it myself. They grabbed me. I thought they got me on the spot, but instead they hog-tied me and dragged me off. And just like an animal going to slaughter, my only thought was, let's get this over with. They brought me to the stinking cave and threw me under altar, and I realized who it was. Kuthites. Yeah. From Nidal. They tracked me down after all those years, but I didn't care anymore. Wouldn't even have cared if they'd eaten me or whatever. We all gotta go sometimes, right? So I was lying there, staring at those knives pointed at me, when fate rolled the dice and hit the jackpot. Iribeth. There she was, storming into the cave. Picture it. I'm lying on an altar with all these knives wielding maniacs around me, and suddenly Iribeth storms in. I thought it was Ayamade herself, fierce in her shining armor with her gleaming sword raised. She made quick work of those scumbags, chopped them up just like that. I didn't even have time to blink. She untied me, and then the girl face lights up as she chuckles. She looked through the papers they had on the table, and she started swearing like a sailor. So much for Ayamade. How did you and Iribeth end up in Kenabris? After almost becoming a human sacrifice, I knew I never wanted to leave Iribeth's side. Desna knows I fell for her instantly, and I fell hard. My misery was gone, and when Iribeth showed me what was in those papers, proved that the cultist had a nest in her home city, well, I offered to help without a second thought. Anivia smiles warmly. She must have figured I couldn't wait to get my revenge on the cultists, but I didn't give a damn about them. It was her. I go anywhere with her, even on a crusade or into the jaws of a dragon. But I took to life in Kenabris like a duck to water. I used to be an outcast wherever I went, but half of the crusaders are the same. After all, who would volunteer to tangle with demons on the edge of the abyss? You gotta be either a goody two-shoe with too much honor and free time, or a misfit with no life out in the normal world with normal people. People come here to run away from their debts, their past, from themselves. So I fit right in. I should release an ebook? Oh my god. Can you imagine? What is it like living with Iribeth? It's like living. Without her, I wouldn't be. Seriously, if I were alone, I'd definitely be gone by now. Sure, sometimes we argue, can deny that. Sometimes we bang our fists on the table and yell so loud that the walls shake. But that's all about order of business. But at home, well, I'll give you an example. I've kind of always wanted to move out of that broom closet we call a home and into somewhere cozier. It ain't like they take a vow of poverty at the Eagles Watch. But every month, somehow, most of our spare money is spent on crusader business. Sure, I get mad about it, but Anivia makes a helpless gesture. It's part of why I love her so much. You know, Iribeth has that thing that matters most for a person, a purpose in life. She's always got a reason for whatever she's doing. Her whole life is a crusade, and I just drifted around like a leaf in the wind until Desna brought us together. Now she's the meaning of my life, so it really makes no difference if we live in a mansion or under a bush. True. So what's your deal in the Eagles Watch? What do you do? Reading Warhammer stuff? That'd be kind of cool. Anivia smiles evasively. Nothing official. I'm not even a knight, you know? I just hang around. You sure you want to know the details? I mean, if it takes you like 5 hours, no. Catching traitors and spies and cultists is no walk in the park. It's a delicate job. You can't always do it all within the letter of the law. What if we surprise some suspicious blighter with an official search? Everyone will know about it before long, starting with their cronies. Then again, sneaking into people's houses at night ain't exactly legal. Crusaders can't be doing stuff like that, can they? Well, I'm not exactly a knight. The girl trails off. Okay, well, I have to go. Cool. So that was that. Anybody else that is not a companion that I should talk to? I've already talked to Stunton. Oh, you. Argus. My money, bro. There it is. Yes, he paid me. 1,000 gold coins for you, just as promised. You helped me get back to the surface, and I duly paid you for escorting me. Argus Worm always keeps his word. Now, speaking of our future cooperation. Argus looks at you with unvarnished disapproval, his arm folded across his chest, his foot tapping impatiently. I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I'll pay generously for your services. What do you mean a job for someone like me? For an adventurer ready to sell their soul for booze and then lie down drunk in a gutter. Or do you think you're somehow different? A traveling knight, perhaps, noble of heart, but without a coin to your name? Yeah. Argus sizes you up critically, then sighs and shrugs. You seem reliable enough, allied to me, and you did get me out of those mongrels' caves. So why should I care what you do with your money once you've got it? I don't know. Hey, good night, Zerix. Failed perception check? No, I rolled a natural 1. Orgus seems like one of those people who thinks the entire world owes them something. Damn it, I rolled a natural 1? Noble bird doesn't give you the right to behave badly. I would ask that you refrain from such statements in the future. Orgus puts his hands on his hips. Oh really? How impudent. No one dares tell Orgus Worm how to address the rabble. Okay, well I can also slap you, dude. So what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard. You see, I have a good reason to return to my mansion here in Canabris. I still have... well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with a large garden in a wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside, one way or another. I started to think the state it's in now. Well? Send them to Baldur's World so they can get slapped? True. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect that the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abaddar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I would ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me there until I complete my business. I already asked the local paladins for help, but they've no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors. That's what they are. Also, please, do take Camellia with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She is of noble birth after all. Dude, I'm also noble, by the way. I just want to point that out. Like, my background is noble. What kind of reward are we talking about? 1,000 gold coin. Okay, let's try this check again. Double the reward and I'll think about it. Oh, we did it! Nice! Several tense moments pass in silence and Orgus' face relaxes. Deal. Then deal. Marvelous, most excellent. Orgus' face is relaxed, smoothing a few of the tense lines. I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry. I know the city like the back of my hand, but do hurry unless you want me to lower your reward. Okay. A strange figure towers over the bar, a huge ungainly man with skin so milky white that his blue veins are visible even from a distance. Oh my god. His bald head is equal parts lumpy and pitted, and blood-filled eyes stare impassively out at you from beneath his pale brow. The glass in the albino's large, clumsy hands looks dangerously delicate, as if one twitch of those calloused finger would be enough to crush it. A gold medallion engraved with a tankard gleams around his neck. What would it be? The medallion you're wearing, that's a sacred symbol, isn't it? Are you a cleric of Kaelin? I'm a tavern keeper, best in the city, the best there has ever been, and I pray to the best god there is. Okay. Any news? The albino looks around. There are demons everywhere, and you showed up. True. I can't really say anything against that. Everything he said was true. For you. The albino slowly takes your measure with his red eyes, and finally, with a gentle sigh, says, "Give me locks, vampire." You're a vampire? Wait, are you really a vampire? Gives you a long look of reproach and then grudgingly answers, no. Don't, dude, like, don't go around saying you're a vampire if you're not a vampire. Offer him a vein and see. How did you end up in the Crusader City? How did anyone end up here? How did you or them? With a huge hand, the tavern keeper gestures at a ragtag group assembled in the room. The world is big, but still there isn't a place for everyone. People would no longer have a life anywhere else. They end up here. Okay. Are there any places in the city worth visiting? If you mean places that normal people usually stay well away from, there are plenty, like the Pitaxian wine cellar. Pitax's origins lies with brigands from their neighbor to the north, Brevoy, who sought sanctuary amid the forests of the River Kingdom. A band of vicious thieves made a hideout in a riverside hamlet known as Pitax. As they visited there year after year, their ill-gotten gold slowly transformed Pitax into something considerably larger than a simple, sleepy fishing village. Eventually, the bandits settled in Pitax permanently, building walls around the village, hiring sellswords to help defend it against their enemies, and crowning themselves kings of a newfound realm. With this, Pitax became a permanent fixture of the River Kingdoms, able to survive and thrive for nearly 4 centuries, while others around it withered and decayed. Gimel pauses for effect, like the name of the place alone should make you quiver in fear. It once belonged to a Pitaxian trading house. Then King Iraveti came to power in Pitax, and poverty started changing hands. Property. Soon after, the seller's shop assistant was found in a ditch. Not all of him, mind, just his head. Numerian gangsters had taken possession of the place. Numerian. Once a rising power poised to unite its neighbors under its banner, Numeria's leadership has fallen into decay. Here, savagery and science exist side by side. Amid the wreckage of a crashed starship from a distant world, technomancers from across Golarion flock to research and exploit the technological wonders found within the otherworldly ruins. Meanwhile, tribes of primitive barbarians cling to age-old tradition and eschew technology, anyway, in favor of their own raw skill and martial prowess. This is a nation where, under the auspices of technological advancement and the betterment of civilization, a select few rule a subjugated nation as despot and tyrants, placing their own power and continued reign over the well-being of their citizens. There's starships in Pathfinder? Jesus. They wanted to tell you something. To sell something stronger than wine on the street, and they ended up on the gallows. Then King Iraveti's number was up. Apologies. So now the store stands empty and unclaimed. People say that a headless ghost wanders the place at night, moaning ghoulishly. Okay. After coming to this end of the story, unusually long by his standards, the tavern keeper takes a swig from his tankard. Just don't ask me how he makes any noise with no head. I wasn't there. I just said it like I heard it. That's true. The ghost can make a sound because he doesn't have a head. I see you're not one for talking. Gimel gives you a long, mournful look and says nothing. Wow. Okay, show me what you got. 35? Oh, I want that. But you know, protection from chaos would be nice. I don't need Potion of Blur. Moderate wounds, they're too expensive. It'd be nice, but they're super, super expensive.